Welcome to the Pathways to Profitability podcast, personal tales of business success, where we hear local business owners' personal stories of their trials and tribulations that got them to where they are today. Here's your host, Cheryl Mucha, CEO of CFO Your Way.
Hello. Thank you so much for joining us. Our conversation today is going to be a fascinating one. I have Michele Mollard of Sherpa LLC. She is a professional EOS implementer. Michele, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So I like to start, just give the audience a little bit of a background of who Michele is and a little taste of what EOS is, because I want to dig deeper there.
Yeah, no. So I am Michele Mollard, and I am an EOS implementer. I started off in the East Coast. I'm now residing in Michigan. And really, the journey has just always been about the passion. I learned early on that I'm really passionate about everybody reaching their full potential. And so my career path has been very focused along those lines. And that is really what brought us and brought me to EOS, is that it can help everybody in an organization reach their full potential, from the leadership team all the way to the janitor. And so that's a little bit about it. EOS helps business owners get what they want from their business. So we instill vision, traction, healthy in their organization to make them make more money, get more efficient, whatever they're really, they want out of their business. And
there's
that's a little bit about it.
There's so much there to talk about. But let's just start with a little bit. So pre-EOS, what were you doing and what was the point of change? Like, what was the impetus for change to become part of the EOS worldwide
family? We call
family?
It.
Yes.
We call it a community.
Yes.
For sure. Thank you. So earlier on, I started my first business in 1997, and it was a business-to-business leads group. And I wanted it, right? I was in sales at the time, and I needed to get that opportunity. And so what I learned as I was doing that is talking to successful salespeople that were getting leads and were doing great things. But the company that they were in was hampering their ability to be great. And so as time goes on, as I developed some more chops, I went in and started Sherpa, first time Sherpa, in 2008. And so I went into organizations and say, you have great salespeople, but your systems and processes aren't working for them, and they're not really excelling the ability for them to, I should say, maybe accelerate them and your organization to sales. And then that kind of evolved and kept going. And I just didn't have the chops to do what I'm doing now. And so the time from 2008 to 2020 is kind of when I started Sherpa 2.0, if you will. I was developing me as a human and me as letting more breadth wide of how organizations really run. And so kept that Sherpa company, kept that side hustle. But I had an opportunity to work for a huge, well, in my opinion, a big company, 400 employees, about $100 million company. They were running on EOS.
Right?
Yeah. Some people are saying, it has to be 3,000. I don't know. Right. To me, it's a big company at 400 employees. Right. But they were running on EOS. And what I learned, it was like, the best story I can tell is I walk in and in that time, third shift warehouse workers were leaving us for 10 cents. I mean, just off running, right? And I'm like, gosh, how is this happening? And so as we migrated and integrated EOS more and more, they were bought in to the fact that they had a voice, they could make change, they can bring ideas up, they were heard, they had accurate measurables, right? Sometimes we have these measurables that these carrots, right, that are out there so far that some guy on, 6 glasses of Monster did it once, right? As far as the ability to get it done. And they just couldn't, right? And so that's what I started to love. And there's that full potential, kind of bringing it back to full circle. What you asked the first time is what I wanted. And it's great that leadership teams can latch on to these great things, but it's that matters to me, that engagement on the staff level.
Right. And the bringing, we use the word community, family, team, whatever, bringing the team together to be aligned is so critical in every organization. And like you said, from C-suite to janitor, everyone needs to be on the same page.
Yeah. Yeah. And that brings in that vision, traction, healthy, right? So 100% crystal clear on where they're going, instilling discipline and accountability through the organization, and having healthy, functioning, cohesive leadership teams. Because as a leadership team goes, the rest of the organization goes.
Right, right. And I'm sure you see this all the time with your clients. So many times the C-suite is so disconnected with what's happening in the daily grind.
Yes, yes, and that and not even disconnected, just and not intentionally disconnected, right? So if you
Right,
think about a crewing team, right, here in the East Coast, there's lots of crew out there, right? I grew up, I went to Boston College, so I kind of get that whole. It is literally 1 second of that paddle not going in the water
right,
at the right time, or just not getting it up, and so it skips the water. And yeah, I mean, obviously, if you're any follower of that, it could lose first or second place, right?
right,
But
right.
thing. And then once they skip it a little bit and they're a little bit lazy, does that just become a moda operandi, right? And that's,
Right.
Bobby's always a little lazy. His paddle's always in the water, right? And now
Right.
we're kind of skewing to the right because Bobby's paddle's over there.
Right. And I love that. I'm envisioning that, everyone's in sync, everyone's getting the paddle in the water, and it just builds momentum for greater things.
Yeah,
That first
absolutely.
place, right?
Absolutely, right? And the mission is 100% focused on where they're headed. For sure.
Right.
For sure.
So tell us a little bit more about EOS and how you work with your clients, because I am all in with EOS. I totally believe in it. Working through it myself for the CFO Your Way team. And I just think that it brings, like you said, brings everyone together, but gets everyone like aligned, like know the goal of the company, know what's going on within the organization.
Yes. So we have another 2 hours, right? just, just kidding. Just
We
kidding.
can do another one that could be 2
Ah,
hours, right? Maybe we'll do it live,
Uh,
right?
just kidding. I think the really everybody latches onto a different part of EOS as implementers that is really passionate, and for me, it's really the people, right? So right people, right seat. Jim Collins coined the phrase years and years ago, so we're just borrowing it, as we say. And I love the ability in the first meeting that we are with our customers to 60,000 foot, all the leaders 100% up there, looking at what is the right way to structure our organization. So we have a lot of family run businesses. And so, Bobby may be your brother, maybe your son. And we got to figure out if we're going to put up with the fact that he might be in the wrong seat, right? So, how do
Right.
we really want to structure this? And then we look at it and say, okay, what are the core values of the organization? And then who belongs in there? So, the structure gives us right seat. And the core values give us right people in the organization. And we do that first and
And
foremost
if
in
I
the
could just
first step.
interrupt you for a
Oh,
second, Michelle,
please, Joe. Yeah.
how many
Uh,
organizations that you get involved in don't have core values? Don't start with the core values.
well, I think, no, I know for a fact they're usually there, right? So we work with
But no one
organizations.
knows them, right?
Right, no one knows them, right? So the owner knows them, the leadership team may feel about them, and they may have them, but they don't follow them, they don't live by them. It's not really who they are. Some are aspirational, right? So I have an organization that I said to them, "Hey, what's a core value?" And they just said, "Oh, the owner had said work-life balance," and I think the whole leadership team almost fell off their chairs. They're like, "We work 70 hours," and he goes, "Well, I want it to be." Well, it devalues the
Right,
core values as a whole because it's not really who we are at the core. So we
right,
put it on their 3-year picture to say that's a goal. And then as soon as we get there, we can add it. Right. And they can
right,
really embrace it. And so that's the kind of thing is sometimes as leaders, we think those core values are there. So we haven't articulated them. We're not 100% and we're not talking about it. So I think you've heard me say this before, Cheryl, 7 times
right,
before your employees hear you the first time.
right.
So, how often are you talking about core values? Is it in your job ads? Is it in your job descriptions? Right? All of these things. And we're so passionate about it that hopefully in the interview process, our point is to repel people away from us
Right,
that aren't that because
right,
they'll go out of our organization so quick because they aren't that.
right.
Right. So, yeah. So, right people, right seat, I think is my favorite part of it because I think that if you don't have that, what are we building this on, right?
Right.
So really that structure and that foundation of an accountability chart, we call it accountability chart, an org chart, little bit more on steroids, really an accountability. You know,
Right.
you stay in your function, your box, I stay in. It's not we can't help each other. It's not like I say, Cheryl, I need help over here to get this done. Can you
Right.
come? Yeah, of course. Right. It's not a
Yeah.
workflow.
Right.
It's
It's
a,
not a
what do I
workflow, but
own?
it's definitely has to be a collaboration because
Ah,
so much within an organization overlaps.
yes, absolutely. And the smaller the organization, you're in a few
The
little
more.
seats. You
Yep.
might be in a few seats. You might be in the what we call a visionary seat and head of sales, right?
I
That's
feel it.
very normal. It's right. It's very
Yeah.
normal. And the aspiration is, you know, I talk about this EOS life. I think we've talked about this before, but it's really having time for other pleasures, right? And so as owners, we've grown and grown and grown. And sometimes we're working 70 hours. We're on vacation, putting out fires. We're not going on vacation. We're missing baseball games, all of those things. And so as an owner, as we start to be able to get bigger, right, with more people that we can delegate and then elevate our game, right? And so then we have, go back to that accountability chart. We have to make functions that things that we're not great at, we need to figure out who is great at that, or even technology that's great at that, that we can then go and say, you know what? I'm going to leave at 3 o'clock today because I can. And I can go see my kid's baseball game. And this applies for all employees, not just the owner. A lot of people say, oh, then the owner can go golfing. No, it's everybody. Get your outcomes done. So,
Right. Great.
yeah. Yeah.
So, what else can we share with our audience? Um, there's so much I want to talk about. EOS, you have clients. What's the range of time, and how do you interact with those clients?
Yeah, so it's we're very much a proponent of breeding. I'm not saying that's even right, but independence, right? We don't want this. I'm the consultant, and I'm going to solve your problems. I'm going to do an evaluation. So the experts in the room are them, and so they'll ask me a question, Michelle, what do you think? And I'll just say, team, what do we think? Right? Because they know their business. They're the leaders of the organization. And if I have the answers and if I do all those things, it I don't know, it just kind of, we feel it strongly devalues that leadership team and that ability to problem solve. And so that's kind of the one thing that I'd like to share on that is really making sure that our journey with them usually is about 2 years, Cheryl. So sometimes smaller organizations it's maybe a year and a half. Sometimes they've kept us on for 8. It just depends on how they want that. But the real impact is in that 2 years, and we call it a road to mastery or journey to mastery, right? And so how do they get the path to mastery done? That's kind of usually around that 2-year mark. And the kind of check mark to that, or the indicator of that, is if they can teach all the tools in EOS to their employees. Again, we don't work with other team members just because we don't want to be the one that they really like, or that they're a great leadership style or whatever. We want the managers to be that, and then rolling that through. So that's kind of gives you an idea of the 2 years is what it is. Path to mastery is ultimately where we go. When they master that and they can roll this through all the way through the organization, then my job is done.
Right. And to your point about you want the managers to be able to, teach and educate the rest of the team,
Yeah.
because they need to be in control of that
Yes.
and be able to identify, again, right people, right seats.
Yes.
Yeah. And you're, beyond, for whatever, 30 years, whatever it is, they need to have those skills to be able to do that for the
Right.
rest of their career.
Well, and I also think it comes into our proponent of leadership plus management equals accountability, right?
Right.
And so having 2 tracks, right? So people think, oh, I'm a great leader. There's management still. And let me here say this clearly, not micromanagement. So that
Right.
as soon as you micromanage somebody, you've hired somebody poorly, right? So just
Right.
keep that in mind. Jim Collins nailed it. So the whole difference between that, and that really brings it to that level, is, how am I creating openings for them, right? And it's
Right.
job openings, it's project openings, it's a mindset opening. How am I giving them a voice? How am I hearing them? Am I being right in my space, right? So we talk about these clarity breaks as leaders, that we get so much time in the business, we forget, right? Even as in a leadership team, we just forget, and we need time to make sure that we get on top of the business and kind of have this clarity break so we can be better to our employees. And I think that's what it also brings, as well as, for them to be able to share that knowledge. But it's also having that teamwork and having that true leadership management relationship that that should go on, and we call them quarterly conversations. So it's not a review quarterly, it's a conversation quarterly. And
Right.
how are you engaging with your staff? How are they with their core values? What's going on, what's working, what's not working, really getting them to have a voice. And I think,
And real and
oh, yeah,
face those issues. Address those issues. Don't let
and
them linger.
enter the danger, as we call it, right?
Exactly.
And it's okay, but people are afraid to enter the danger because there's trust, or something's unhealthy, right? And so what we do is that healthy part, cohesive, functioning, healthy teams. As soon as we have that, then I can almost tell you anything, right?
Right.
As a leader, we really, I mean, and I can receive it well, and
Right.
not think I'm being attacked, not think I'm job jeopardy, all of those things. And so when you have that healthiness, you just can bring that. And so everyone brings their authentic self. And, I joke, right? Let your freak flag fly, right? I mean, just whoever you are, bring it.
Right.
And we need all that diversity, and we can get into another whole
And
conversation.
honesty.
Honesty. Yep.
Yeah.
Vulnerability even, right? So as
Yeah.
leaders, we've got to add that quality into our quiver, right? Into our arrow of quivers. And yeah, so I think vulnerability is key for them and for us, right? And so
Right.
like, I messed up, like,
Right.
own it.
And and it's okay. Let's get through it and past it and move on.
Right. Right. And I think, there was, I don't even know who did it, who talked about it, but think about like a gas tank, right? And so as you start to build that open, honest, vulnerable culture within your team,
Mhm.
you're filling, right? They're filling your gas tank, you're filling their gas tank.
Right.
And so when you do make a withdrawal, it's not empty. It's not hitting the bottom of that gas tank and they're just like, I'm done, right? You still have
Right.
gallons. I don't
You
know,
still
right?
have miles to go, right?
Gallons to go, right? And so that's the hard part, is that people think that that's a straw that broke the camel's back, but you've been sucking that tank dry
Right.
as a leader or as an employee for a long period of time, and it's not. We're just got to check the levels better than we do.
So how do you handle with a client if one of those seats or the wrong person is in a seat at the high level of management?
Yeah. So if they're in the wrong seat, so we use a filtering tool called Get It, Want It, Capacity to determine if they're in the right seat. And so we do the structure, and then we set up 5 roles, typically 5 roles or responsibilities, whatever people can wrap their head around. That is 100% what they're accountable for. And so the Get It, Want It is inherently there, right? I absolutely get it. I get sales, I get training and development, I get public speaking. I don't get finance. Like, that's why I love you, Cheryl. Like, I don't have that skill set, right? This is a perfect marriage, you and I, is that I want to be able to bring to my clients more value. And so I don't get it, right? And so we'll evaluate that. But the other part, so Get It, Want It, all has to be yeses, because I can't
Right.
breed, I can't make that happen. The
Right. You
last is
can't train that. Yeah.
can't, right? And so the last is capacity, which is knowledge, skills, talents, and also time. And so
Right.
that can be a no. And so this is getting to your point, is if that's a no and they're in the wrong seat, how much time, resources, right, effort, whatever you want
Right.
to talk about, do I want to put into them to get there? Now, if there are core values and they bleed us culturally, I want to put in a little bit more effort,
Right.
right? I want to try to get them going a little bit more. But if they're both, let's just go, right? So hire slow, fire fast. We're a proponent of it. If they are not there, and each leader has to do that. Each team, each company, each leader has to determine that pace at which they do.
Right.
I tend to go pretty fast with it as a leader and as a manager, but it just depends, right? And so right now, if you're having talent acquisition struggles, I would say slow it down. I would slow it down, right? If that was just kind of the industry that I was in and I was having those struggles, just slow it down a bit. But if you have candidates and you have people,
Right.
because it's not only just tainting their job, I'm sure you've experienced this and heard it from your clients, it's also messing the culture, right? Someone's
Right.
kicking out the wall, someone's upsetting somebody else on the team. And so
Mhm.
keeping a bad person may actually make a good person leave. And
Right.
that's not good.
Yeah. Yeah. It becomes toxic to some degree.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've seen it be very ugly.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So we could talk about this for hours, I know, but I wanted to shift a little bit about your journey with EOS, and now you're working for EOS worldwide. Tell us a little bit about that, and it's exciting, like the training, and tell us a little bit about that
Yes.
and how that happened. Obviously,
Yeah.
you're you know the EOS system, you have the experience in the background to be able to contribute at such a high level.
Yeah. So obviously, as an implementer, there is a knowledge that I have about EOS, and so we are growing so fast. Right now, there's 500 implementers or so. 527, I think, is the newest number that I saw, and the growth that we're having is. I don't know the exact number, but it's almost close to 10 times that. And
Oh,
so when I
wow.
looked at that, and it comes back to that full potential, is how do I help implementers like myself hit the ground running faster? How are we delivering better facilitation in the classroom, right, in the session room with our customers? And so EOS said we are growing so fast, we don't know how to scale that, and arguably not had somebody with the training mind. So some of my background in that journey from 2008 to 2020 was training and development and being certified in instructional design. And so there is a difference between just putting content out to watch, and then how people say adult learning, it's learning, period, right? You can put
Right.
kids here or adults here. It's just how people learn. And so to sit down in front of a video for 3 hours to learn, it's not going to happen,
It's
right?
not effective. They're going to have to watch it 7 times to get the message,
There's
right?
the 7 times before they hear you the first time. Exactly, sure, right? But then how do we, it could be the exact same video. So I'm not changing that much or thinking about changing. It's just 30 minutes in, pause, do a knowledge check, right? Do a retention thing, or how are we going to, right? And so I'm super excited about the next journey, the next launch that EOS is on to do. And I'm excited to be a part of it. It is, I don't know. It's just exciting. It's kind of like almost speechless because I've only been at it just about 3 months, and so
Mhm.
it's really still trying to wrangle it all in and see where we go
Right.
and what's first, right? And so really doing, we live the EOS model. We do the same thing. So we have level 10 meetings, and I'm hearing from our implementers, our subject matter experts, people like me, what's bent, not broken. There's nothing broken, but what's bent, what needs to get better. And I think that continuous improvement is always there. And, that's kind of what we drive through our companies that we work with. So just using that same mindset, it's so refreshing to know that we operate that way. And I'm very much at home with my community of my people. That's for sure. So
Yeah,
it's been a great experience.
but you have all that input too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which, I mean, sometimes it could be bad because a lot of people get too opinionated, but, just to have, different working, like everyone has different working experiences with their clients, and they're all going to bring that to you to make the best path forward.
Yeah. And I think the one thing that I am confident on, and that I say never, because you should never say never, 99% not falter from it, is the world wants EOS in its purest form, right? So there's a book out there called Traction. So if anybody wants to grab that book, the world wants it like that. We wrote that, I don't know, 2010, 2000, 2005. I think it might chart out. I don't really know exactly, but we wrote that, and that's how we want it. And so that this path to mastery internally and for our clients is the same. And so I'm EOS myself are 100% clear on that. We've now added Rocket Fuel University. We've added Great Boss. So all of those were books, and now we're turning them into training for our clients. And so that is stuff that's coming. Sneak peek. Rocket Fuel University's out there already, but and that's the duality between the integrator and the visionary. And so if anybody's wanting to know what that is all about, but and then Great Boss is Great Boss, right? How do you lead and hold people accountable? So super excited about the journey, and just. Again, the content's all there. It's a little bit how do we get better internally and how we deliver better, and then we're growing. It's not stopping.
And as you grow, create consistency.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's hard, right? As you know, Cheryl, the more people you get, the ability to deliver that same quality has to be captured in a process so you can scale it consistently, which ultimately means to managing easier, right? Having more fun, having more profit. And so that's where we're at, is as we're doing this, let's make sure that we're scaling it properly. We're writing the process properly. And so we know exactly the right way, the best way to do X.
Right.
And that's what it comes down to in every organization, but we're doing the same thing. We have it. Now we're just got to grow it because it's growing so fast. So.
Great.
Yeah.
Well, good luck on that journey. It's
Thank
super
you.
exciting.
Yeah, super excited for them both. It's going to be good.
Yeah. So
Thank you for
thank you so much, Michelle, for being here with me today. Just share with our audience how they can find you and get in touch with you.
Yeah, the probably the best way. I'm really active on LinkedIn, and so my LinkedIn is obviously LinkedIn, and then it's just Michele Mollard at the end there. My email address is out there as well, so it's Michelle with one L. So that's the caveat. So I think they'll post some things up there, but Michelle with one L dot Mollard, Mollard at EOS Worldwide. And that is on your screen is my website. So we have little microsites that you can learn about holistically about what EOS is and how we get there. So those are the best ways. And I just enjoy talking shop, right? I just enjoy that. So one of our core values is help first. It's probably one that I believe in most is how can I help? And that's how you and I met, Cheryl, right? Is how do we help each
Exactly.
other and do
And
that? And it's just a strong mindset of mine.
and we've had great conversations. I really enjoy our time together. And thank you so much for sharing with our audience and being here. I really appreciate it.
My pleasure. And thank you very much for having me.
So to our audience, thank you for tuning in. You can listen to this and all our other podcasts at pathwaystoprofitability.com. Check them all out. Every episode is a little bit unique. The story is always unique, very thought-provoking, very insightful. So tune in, and new episodes will be posted every month. So be well and take care. Reach out if you need anything.
That's it for today's episode of Pathways to Profitability. Remember to ask yourself, where can I pay my success forward today?